Hi, everyone. As Francesca said, I'm Miguel. I'm a PhD student here at King's College. And today I want to go through the journey of how I ended up here and some things I learned along the way that might be useful to you. So I want to make this a bit more personal. So first I'll go through who I am. I was born in the south of Spain, in Malaga. You probably know that from holidays, if you've been there, or from ads from low-cost flights. It is true, it's sunny and lovely, as is my family, who I was raised by, and that there is a picture from our terrace in Malaga where you can see the beach. And obviously, I grew up being there basically every single day. So I definitely loved this, but growing up, I picked up many other interests. One of them I've enjoyed a lot lately is reading. It's what I try to do on the tube instead of dumb scrolling, although I don't succeed all the time. I also love cinema. I've also loved watching movies. This is one of my favorite movies ever. It's The Arrival. Maybe you've watched it. It's definitely great. You should, if you haven't. Now that I live in London, I love going to the theater, watching plays and musicals. Last year, probably a highlight was going to the Mamma Mia musical down the road here, which you should definitely go to if you like the movie. And something I also really, really enjoy is doing sports, especially with other people. And this is it's a picture of my running shoes, because if I put a picture of me running, I would look red as a tomato. All right, so let's actually start with my journey. And I'll start at high school, because if it was earlier, I don't really remember, and I'd have to call my parents. So during high school, I specialized in sciences. I did this in Spain. And I always had a problem, which some of you might have now, which is that I was very, very influenced by my teachers. So this is good, but it also meant that whenever I had a really good teacher, I would become very interested in that subject. I actually got obsessed with history, biology, and chemistry probably all through high school, and forgot about it as soon as I got a really bad teacher that didn't inspire me in it. And my advice looking back is that I would really, really suggest that you try to keep the mentors that inspire you close and learn from them. And whenever there's a teacher who's not right for you, doesn't mean they're a bad teacher, then you should not let them stop you from pursuing what you're interested in. The truth is, I had a lot of physics teachers in high school, and even though they weren't bad teachers, they weren't really inspiring. And by the time I got a really good teacher that I loved, I was already in my last year, and I had decided what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to study physics. Unknowingly, I had just been looking for questions to ask and questions that I wanted to answer myself. And the way I found them without a teacher was that I was just spending a lot of time watching documentaries on TV, YouTube videos about science and physics. And in the later years of high school, I actually read a few science popular books. And this really made me realize what things I was interested in. So I would really want to shout out here Veritasium, which is like probably one of the biggest science channels in YouTube, but it has, I mean, I watched it like back in 2014, 2015, and it really, really made me love like these questions that look completely impossible at the start and have a really clever solution. And I really want to highlight too that I read A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. This is a massive cliche. If you go into a physics lecture first year and you ask who's read it, it's like half of the class will put their hand up and say, oh yeah, that was in my application letter. But it's really, really good. I'm completely serious. It's an amazing introduction to modern cosmology and the history of it. And Stephen Hawking does a really, really good job at narrating it. So I decided I was studying physics, but I had a little problem, which is that there's no physics degree in Malaga. So I probably had to move out. And while I was considering this, some friends from the UK asked me, why don't you come study to the UK? We've got great universities. This was before Brexit, so it was a bit easier. And spoilers, I ended up doing that. So instead of living in sunny and beautiful Spain, I live in rainy and gloomy London. So I want to give a shout out to my friends for that. I applied to the UK, and I applied to many places. I applied to Cambridge, and I got rejected. I applied to Edinburgh, and I also got rejected. But I applied to Manchester, and I did get in. And I want to stop here and say that if you get rejections through your uni process or through any other processes, be patient, you'll get a chance, and you'll probably find a place where you will have the time of your life. So I ended up doing a bachelor's and integrated master's in theoretical physics at the University of Manchester. So theoretical physics is a branch of physics where we try to use equations and models to explain physical behavior. You could say it's opposed to experimental physics, where people would go, build an experiment, and directly observe what's happening. So both parts are really important, and they need to talk to each other to figure out what the truth is about a problem. Now, I tried both types of physics. I also conducted labs at uni, and I did it with machines that look as incomprehensible as that one that you're seeing there. But you end up doing it, and you learn a lot about it. I learned how to code during uni, which is something I still do today, and I'll probably do for the rest of my life. And I conducted my first few projects. I thought they were super interesting. And most importantly, I did research for the first time, in my master's specifically. That was absolutely amazing, and I definitely got hooked. And this is me giving my first ever presentation about my research. I titled it "The Future Quantum Computer" on the, let's say, for the abstract, right? What I didn't tell people is that I had a very small subtitle that you cannot see here, but it says "probably not." And it definitely didn't have to do that much with quantum computers, had to do more with some interesting materials that in the future could serve that purpose. But I just wanted to bait people into coming to the room, and then I could tell them whatever I wanted. So this was at a student conference, actually, that I organized with the Physics Society at the University of Manchester. And I wanted to stop and speak about this because it shows how much impact you can have when you are doing what you want to do with the right people. When I joined the Physics Society in Manchester, I did it because I met a group of like-minded people that wanted to build a community around the department, and without really noticing how much work we were doing, we ended up doing lots of things. We ended up having frequent coffee mornings, pub crawls, guest lectures, and then a lot of like one-off events, which were really great. Like the student conference I was telling you about, we did dinners, balls. We even did this really cool charity event where we had a talk by Jeff Forshaw and Brian Cox. And in the end, without really looking to do this, we ended up winning the Society of the Year at the final event of the SU. And this is probably the least important point, but I can't stress how much we were just doing this because we were having fun and we were making friends. And we were just having a massive impact on the rest of people in the department, because this is the sort of things that you get to do at uni when you meet amazing people that you want to work with. And in the end of everything, we got to do what you really want to do when you enroll into uni, which is throw a hat in the air. And what they don't tell you is that it ends up looking normally quite bad, because they don't teach you how to throw that hat in the air in the department, at least in the physics one. So after this, I had pretty much decided that I wanted to do a PhD. A PhD is another university degree. You also do it for about 3 or 4 years. And your job is basically to try to answer questions that no one has answered before and to learn how to do that. So basically doing research. And you actually just learn by doing it. It's pretty much like throwing someone into the pool and letting them figure out how you have to swim. Now, it's a lot of work, but I had a few things that I definitely believed back then, and that's why I chose it. I wanted to keep doing research because I had loved the experience working with brilliant people and having fun exchanging ideas. I loved university, how lively it felt, how people wanted to collaborate and share. And I genuinely thought I was well prepared and I would get a place. So there are 2 truths and a half in this slide. Does anybody in the audience have an idea of which one is the truth and a half? Yeah, I didn't get accepted that easily. It was pretty hard. I got rejected from about 15 or 20 places, maybe. But just as before, with the uni rejections that come back to haunt me, I guess, I ended up getting a chance. I got a chance from my supervisor, Ivana. I have to be thankful to her forever, probably. The chance I arrived really, really late in August 2023, and as Francesca said, I started in October 2023. But I went for it. I loved the opportunity. It also felt right, definitely. And I dived right into it and started learning more about the topics I'm doing today. So, well, I mean, the PhD has been crazy. It's been, 2.5 years now, which feels like a lot of time. And I would say main things are that a PhD is a place where you have a lot of free range to learn and explore about topics that you should be interested in when you start, with brilliant minds, experts in the field that really know more than anyone else in the world. And you get taught by them, which is absolutely amazing. I would say a great feature of it is getting to travel and to learn and to showcase your work. So for example, on the summer of my first year, I went to a summer school in Austin, Texas. This is a picture of everybody there. It was super advanced, but it was great. And I really never expected to visit Texas, but I loved it. I've been to many, many places in the UK showcasing my work. This is actually, these two pictures here are pictures from just yesterday, where I got to give a talk, my talk to the most people I think, about 100 people. It was quite frightening, but I think it went quite well. And I've even had the chance to go to Switzerland twice in the last year. And this is the picture of me in summer, because the picture of me in winter looked way worse. So all through this is great, but I really can't forget the aspect of making friends and meeting amazing people. Some of the people that have made me who I am today, I also met during my PhD, not only during uni, not only during my high school and my childhood years. So I want to tell you a bit about my research before we finish. So you see that I actually do research, and I know, and this is not just me giving a speech about how great it is to do research. So I want you to think about this quote: how we can use materials to be the roads for electrons, and how we have to design materials for electrons to go through them as easily as possible. If you think about it, we build roads to transport cars. That's only their own purpose, right? You want roads to be smooth, to not have traffic, and for people to get from A to B as quick as possible. Well, with materials, you have a similar case. You want to make them as perfect as possible and to have the properties that you want so they can actually move electrons from one place to the other, and we can create electronic devices and have stuff like phones, computers, and everything else. But they are like roads. So in reality, the same as roads have bumps, potholes, and obstacles, materials are imperfect. They can be not as you designed them, and electrons can have a lot of trouble traveling through them, bumping into things, and maybe not even getting to the point where you want to get them. So what we do is study why these electrons get trapped in these materials, what things they bump into, and which are the ones that we have to care about the most so we can build better materials for the future. These are some cool pictures about systems I've worked in. So this is a layer of hexagonal boron nitride and a layer of graphene on top. Maybe you've heard of graphene. It's this wonder material, two-dimensional sheet of carbon atoms. This is another system I've been working on, which is quite bigger, and it has some silicon down here you might have heard of, and some other complex materials on top. And you might be seeing this and wondering, well, that looks a lot like what I see in my chemistry classes, right? It's like there's atoms and stuff. Where's the physics here? And I mean, there's a lot of physics in the background, but I also have to tell you, when you go and study in uni and you study physics or chemistry or maths or anything else, you will not only study physics or chemistry or anything, everything becomes intertwined. You need to know a bit about everything. I need to know physics, but I also need to know a bit about chemistry. I need to know a bit about maths. I need to know coding and many other things. So don't worry if you study one thing and you miss out on other subjects. You will probably get a chance to pick them up in the future. To finish, I just want to give you a bit of a reflection of what, to me, being a scientist and more specifically a physicist is today. Now, if you studied physics, what I will tell you is that you will basically be asked the question, how can we understand the world around us? Which is probably the hardest question we can ask and answer, although some people don't think that. And the truth is that you're normally not going to have the answers to that, but you will definitely, if you study physics, learn how to ask the right questions to get to that point. And maybe, on the way, you'll solve some problems and feel like a physicist.
Thank you very much, Miguel.